Triple M rocking the footy on a Saturday afternoon. Tony Squires, Ryan Girdler, Wade Graham, Michael Chambliss with you on the back of a win for the Sharks 26-18 over the Cowboys, who disappear from this competition season 2024. The Sharks move on to play the Panthers. They started a little slowly last night, but gee, then they came with a rush, certainly on the back of Braden Trindle, who was sensational.
Yeah, he was outstanding, wasn't he? And look, I thought the Cowboys actually started that game, pretty physically.
Yep.
They knew that the Sharks were probably going to come out and get after it early, as you do, most sides do in semi-finals. But yeah, I thought the Sharks were patient. They were resilient. I was a little bit concerned about their kicking game. I know Trindle kicked really well, but he was kicking on the wrong side of the ruck, and they were getting at him. And I think Penrith next week, they'll need to maybe make that adjustment. I know they were trying to take some pressure off, obviously, Nicho and his contribution early, but yeah, there was a few elements to their game I was a little bit concerned about, but yeah, they were pretty resilient defensively, and they just absorbed that bit of pressure. And then, when the opportunity came, they had the guy that was just, in good form, in good touch, and playing with the instincts to get it done, and that's exactly what Trindle did. Don't know if I agree with that penalty try, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess that was the most controversial moment.
Fell their way, and sometimes you need things to go your way, but it was a sin bin, I thought, but whether or not it did and gets there, you never know what the bounce of the ball's going to do as well.
Yeah, he had, 8 or 9 metres to travel to cover to get to that ball. So, I think, the penalty try is supposed to be, you believe basically beyond doubt that it's going to be scored.
What do you think, Wade?
Again, Klein set it up as a penalty try, so I'm happy with that decision. But I wouldn't have, as a Sharks fan, I wouldn't have been unhappy with the bin either, because you get a penalty there. There's every chance you either kick a goal or you go for the try. And if they score a try there early, while Cotter's in the bin, they get the ball back, and the Cowboys have another 9-8 minutes to go against that. So you just don't know how it's going to affect the game.
As it turned, they went straight back and scored anyway.
Yeah. Also, if you just take the points, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Take the try away, and we just get back through our work. I don't know whether we can say it made much of a difference, because you just don't know how that period with 10 men, with the man in the bin would have went. But the Sharks were just impressive with, again, as Gerd said, that patience. Like, there's no doubt Cowboys started on top. They were physical in defence. They were winning the play the ball. And the Sharks, one of their strengths is getting out of the backfield, and they struggled early to get out of the backfield because of how well the Cowboys started. But just their ability to stay calm, keep kicking to the corners, and their willingness to get down and compete on the high ball.
Yeah.
Where we saw Mortalo get up, bat the ball back into Cam McInnes' arms, who found the try. Sione Katoa goes up, brings the ball back. Jesse Raymond finds a flick pass, and it was an amazing finish by Trindle. But unless you're willing to put that output of energy and to get down there and contest the ball, those bounces don't go your way.
That's
and
right.
Again, in the second half, they showed a willingness to do that. And the bounce actually went against them. They had a couple of tries disallowed just from the bobbles and knock-ons. And thoroughly deserved win. They applied themselves. They applied their brand, their footy, and a completely dominant first half. Now, the Cowboys, they showed spirit, and the game sort of changed a little bit. It got a bit stop-start. It allowed the Cowboys to get good field position. And I think what hurt the Sharks was the rotation when they didn't have Rudolph, Cam McInnes on the field at the same time, because Cotter started to find some inroads behind the ruck. Robson was dangerous. And again, a couple of opportunities sort of went begging for the Cowboys when they were making those half breaks. But it's always going to be like that in the semi-final. You can't control the game the whole time, particularly two teams who are so evenly matched, like the Sharks and the Cowboys. And the Sharks have been on the wrong end of those games for the last few years. So to go the other way now, with all the pressure that was on them, with all the pressure that was on Nicho, to finally seal a game and, for lack of a better saying, get that monkey off their back and to go, right, they can take a breath now, and that's gone, wash it, and now look towards Penrith, which is a monumental challenge. There's no doubt about that. The game that's coming up in front of them. But again, the opportunity to play in a prelim, opportunity to be 80 minutes away from a grand final. It's a special place to be as a player.
Yep.
And, the Sharks deserve it this year.
Gemma, I'm not sure what's the average number of set restarts this year, but there was none. last night with Ashley Hunt. And
One.
only
There was one, and it was for
sorry,
an
it's three
offside.
penalties.
Yeah.
Three penalties.
Yeah, and look, I think there was definitely a deliberate ploy there to keep the whistle in the pocket and let the game flow, and it was good to watch. I definitely think that it's. Look, I don't know how it would favour the Cronulla next week against Penrith if that was the case, and they had to get into that grind with Penrith, and it's sort of what Penrith want, right? They want to just keep playing, wear you down. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out next week. I think it suited Cronulla last night, and it suited Braden Trindle in that situation. He was playing on the ball. He basically wearing the number 6 but playing the number 7 role, and he was outstanding last night for him, Braden Trindle. And I was fascinated during the week to watch the noise around Nicho Hynes and how he handled it. And obviously, he said the right things. It doesn't bother him. He's not listening to it. But last night, he wasn't too dissimilar of a performance to the week before. The only difference was they got the job done. And he wasn't really involved. As I said, Trindle was the one coming up with the plays you'd expect from the 7, and he really dominated the game. Sort of Nicho was just turning the ball back on the inside and just playing a real simple role. And the fact that they win, he escapes the blowtorch. But if they didn't get the job done in the end, the questions would be asked when the big moments are there. Is he going to stand up? And those big moments are going to come next week because Trindle's not going to be able to do that on his own and dismantle Penrith on his own. If Cronulla are going to cause an upset next week, they do need more from Nicho, right? So that was good this week from Nicho, just to get the win, get the monkey off the back, as you said. But you get the feeling they need a lot more to knock off Penrith next week.
Well, everyone needs a lot more to knock off Penrith. No one's been able to do it for the last 3 years. So I think that's common knowledge. I have a different view to you, Shevers. I think it was the perfect game for Nicho. He went out there, he was solid, he kicked all his goals, and it highlighted the fact that he can't do it on his own. He needs other guys to step around. So Tricky, he stood up.
Yeah.
Cam McInnes stood up. Ronaldo stood up. You had players across the team standing up, and that's so. If the Sharks don't play well and all 13 players don't play well, that's not Nicho's fault. Nicho's fault is to go out there and to play his role and do his job. And I get it. He's the main man. He wears the number 7, but he also needs other players to stand up around him as well. And I think it was the perfect game for him. Like I said, he was solid. Other players stood up and took their opportunity, and the more he goes out there and plays like that, the more opportunities Nicho will get. And in the future, hopefully, you don't know when you're going to have games like Braden Trindle had last night.
Yeah.
You put yourself in the right place, and sometimes the ball bounces your way. Now, the focus should be is putting yourself in the right place as many times as you can. So when that opportunity comes, you're good enough to execute your skill. But I think it's worked out well for Nicho now. I think he can just build and build and build, and there's an understanding. Yes, he's an important part of that team, but he's not the be all and end all. It takes a team to win this competition. It's going to take more than Nicho Hynes to beat Penrith or to go on and win a grand final. It's going to take 17 committed men playing at their best, and Nicho has to play at his best and be a part of that.
My concern for Nicho and the Sharks moving forward with the investment that they've made is that I watch him really closely throughout the year. And I watch his game awareness and I watch his instincts. And when you think about the really good players in our game, the guys that are up over $1 million, everyone talks about the moment, it almost comes down to intuition and instincts for the game. It's things that you basically can't teach. And I know Nicho's got a really good work ethic, and you saw that last night, and he really knew and understood his role. But when the moment was there last night, Trindle had the instinct to take it. When there was a chink in the armour of the defence, like that try that Trindle scored off Ramian flick pass, you know, he's not just running around the field putting other people, looking for opportunities for other people. He's sensing his own moments and taking them. And Nicho was close by, and I was watching his reaction in those moments. He doesn't have the same reaction in those moments. And when you think about like Nathan Cleary, the way that he plays, like he plays in phases to the point where he might handle the ball 4 times in a set of 6, and every time he might do something different with it, waiting for that opportunity for the defence to do something wrong before he pulls the trigger, and it's intuition. You know, it's a feeling that he has. It's like game awareness, and he goes, and when he goes, that's when he seizes the moment. And for mine, I just haven't seen enough. And when people talk about what's wrong with Nicho and whatever, and Wader, you've played with him, I'm just telling you what I see. Yeah. And I love his effort and I love his character and his attitude, but I just don't know whether or not for the value that Cronulla have put in him when he's got that that instinct to own those big moments in representative games or in those finals that we saw last night. Trindle's got it. Trindle's just, he's just one of those guys that you could just see the way that he moves around the puck. He's always looking for opportunities. And when they come, he pulls the trigger, especially on the back of momentum. He's had a wonderful year. I just don't know whether they're going to get that out of Nicho at some point, whether that's part of his game or whether he's just a guy that's just going to go around working hard, doing, kicking for goal, kicking to corners, but not actually being the guy that can win games for you.
I'll just say on that, Gerds, in Nicho's defence, like when we're comparing him, I know, Tricky's a fantastic player. He's a confident player and he backs his ability. He has that unique skill set where he'll back his skill one-on-one against anyone and he's not really worrying about the team, right? He's not really worrying about managing the team. He's just worrying about his own game. And when we compare Nicho to Nathan Cleary or, to a Mitch Moses, who is obvious comparable guys because they're in the same position and play for New South Wales. Nate's like 170, 180 games into his career. Mm-hmm. Mitch is well over 200 games in his career. Nicho is still, as much as we want to say he's the man, he's still developing. He hasn't even played 100 games of first grade. And it's because of the meteoric rise that we had. When when you're in form and you're playing, footy's easier, but it's about when you're not in form and the fight to regain that form, regain that confidence. And all this is learning and experience for Nicho. He's still a developing player. Like his best is still in front of him. His ceiling is still in front of him. And all this adversity that he's going through now, it sucks when you're going through it. Like we all go through it as players. It sucks when you're going through it. But when you come out the other side of it, and you had that understanding, that level of maturity from it, you look back and you go, it's the making of me as a player. So that's what I think we're seeing at the moment with Nicho. And, of course, I'm always going to back him. He's a teammate of mine. He's one of the main men out of the club. But no doubt, I think if we go back and look at Nathan before he played 100 games and we look at Mitch before he played 100 games of first grade in these big moments and in these big games, I think we'd see the same deficiencies at time in their game.
But wait, the points you made about Braden Trindle's game and what it sort of suits his, what his strengths are, they were Nicho's strengths not too long ago. Playing that off the cuff, he was exciting. He was confident. He was taking those moments, he sees something, he would do it. But I think what has happened when people have crucified him for his inability to step up in those big moments, and there's in Origin this year, he just looked a little bit lost out there. It feels like he's become gun shy, and it feels as though he's trying to play a game, trying to become a Nathan Cleary. That's not his strength. Like that, he's never going to be that game organ. To be honest with you, Trindle does it a lot better than him, and it feels as though he's gone into his shell a little bit. He looks like he's lost some confidence. Whereas before, he was playing so free and so natural, and everyone was saying that was the Nicho Hynes we love. But when he was thrown into the position of playing 7 in big games in Origin, he didn't deliver. And I feel those mental scars, they you can see them on the field right now. He just looks
when you first come into that was his kind of first season, right? And no one really knew what to expect. And that's the hardest thing about being a top line player is after everyone knows what you do and they do the video and you're on the tip sheet, they know what Nicho's going to do, and all of a sudden you need to keep evolving. You need to keep finding different ways within how you use the team or within what you personally do, how you prepare and how you go about your business on a weekend. And that's the hardest thing about being one of those top line players is look at Kalen the other week. Everyone knew that they needed to shut down Kalen for Newcastle to win that first semi-final, and then last week, obviously, when they lost. But they can't because he keeps on doing different things, putting on different moves, running different lines that we haven't even seen before, So it's just a continuation. It's just an evolving situation where Nicho needs to find out, okay, now that I am the guy, how am I going to prepare? How am I going to do things differently where I don't become predictable and I play with confidence? And Wader, do you think he's the kind of guy, do you think he's seeing those things? Do you think he's looking for those opportunities, or do you think he's just playing within himself now to do what's best for the team?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. And again, like with the Braden situation, tricky. Like there's a freedom in being new on the scene and having your first season and being confident, and that lack of fear, right? That lack of disappointment, lack of understanding of, mate, if I don't get it done, it hurts because it hasn't happened before. So it's still you know, he's playing a little bit within himself because he's just trying to deliver his role for the team because he knows that's more important than who cares if Nicho comes out and get man of the match and they lose? Does that help anyone except Nicho? No, it doesn't. It's all about the result. Like, I'd rather a 7 out of 10 and a victory from the team because everyone's on the same page. The only thing that matters is the result. Like, if you're man of the match in a losing team, who gives it? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's about the team result, and But
does he carry it well enough though, Wader? Like the fact
he's
is,
learning to.
If
He's
you remember,
learning to.
yeah, like,
It's a
remember
weighted
Jamie Soward
expectation.
all those years of the Dragons, and he used to obviously struggle with the toll and the criticism that everyone used to come with, to a point where he got to, and he started to use that as Wayne found a way to use that as a motivator, and he led the Dragons to a premiership. I think Nicho's at a point where his career where I know he's saying that he's not listening to it, but he has to use that to try and actually take his game to the next level. That's harder.
It's one thing to say it and understand it, and it's one thing to go through it. And the only way you understand it is to go through it. And that's what he's going through right now. And like I said, it was a perfect game for him. He was solid. He kicked 6 from 6. He combined well with Tricky. They were a halves combination. And whether they're wearing 6 or 7, like, they're going to interchange. Someone's going to be on the ball. Someone's going to do majority kicking. It just depends how the game goes. But it's the perfect game for it. And Gerd said at the start, like, this Sharkies club is still ticking off little boxes.
Yeah.
Like, are they at the level of Penrith and Melbourne yet with the success they had? No. Are they on the right track and believe in that destination? I think so.
Yep.